back to Bloomington, Indiana, as the Hawkeyes and the Hoosiers get set to square off at University Gym. Tonight's starting lineups are brought to you by Tachikara. And for the Iowa Hawkeyes, we talked about Alex Lovell before, the freshman standout player for Iowa, but Megan Eskew has also been a star.
Yeah, she really has. She's the captain of this Hawkeyes team, so they're going to be needing her leadership out on the floor today.
And for Indiana, we talked about the libero for the Hoosiers and Caitlyn Cox, but really Kelsey Marshall has had to move into that role, almost playing 6 rotations for the Hoosiers.
Yeah, and Marshall is a lefty, so she brings that certain dynamic to the right side. That's her strong side of the court to swing from. So she's going to be very active tonight and will really have to have a good game if they want to win this one against the Hawkeyes.
As we mentioned, the Hoosiers trying to get a win after falling in 5 sets to Iowa earlier this season in Carver Hawkeye Arena, but the Hoosiers have been better in Bloomington, winning the last 4 in a row and 8 of the last 9 in this series in University Gym. Almost set to get underway as Whitney Granato will head back to serve for the Hoosiers. Daly with the quick in the middle of the Hoos, and she gets the first point on the board for the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, that swing, as you saw, went on top of the tape, and really that's an easy ball for the defense to get. You really have to take advantage of those balls that aren't hit straight down, so Indiana needs to be ready with that drop-off blocker to dig balls.
Both teams looking for better play from their middles in this match. Granato this time to Marshall, and is stuffed by Hoos.
Well, that time that Marshall attack went right in the middle of the court, so Hoos really didn't have to move at all. You want to make sure as an offense, you want to force the middle to move laterally. You don't want to run your offense right into the teeth of the block.
And Lovell now with an ace for the Hawkeyes, and they jump out to the 3-0 lead.
Well, for Iowa, that's one of the things that they needed to do was serve aggressively. And when you're serving aggressively, you want some speed to your serve, and you also want to serve between players to try and get them to move laterally to get the ball.
Hoosiers able to receive this one in the middle this time to Leach, and Indiana finally gets on the scoreboard. Head coach for the Indiana Hoosiers is Sherry Dunbar. She's in her 5th season, took IU to the Sweet 16 a season ago. Kristen Seaton for IU serving. Tough serve for the Hawkeyes, but they're able to stay in system. Chance now for Henderson. Too long out of play and an error on the Hoosiers.
Yeah, it looks like there could have been a touch on the ball. We'll see if the ref went with the line judge's call or not. If it did, obviously, then it would be Indiana's ball.
So they do call that touch, and we look at the series, as we mentioned, Indiana has won the last 4 in this building. The Hawkeyes, though, getting that win earlier this season, and they're looking for their first season sweep in this series since 2006.
Yeah, both teams are really eager to get a win tonight. They're both have struggled in the Big Ten Conference this year, so really I think we're going to see a good matchup. Both teams mirror each other in many ways. Both
of these teams took Purdue to 5 sets on the road. Iowa played Purdue on Thursday night. Fell in the 5th set. They just did not have a player, according to Coach Dingman, that they could really look to, someone that would be a key player to get a crucial point. And really that's the same on both sides. As you mentioned, mirroring these two teams, they do not have a dominant force.
Right, and often they make too many errors, so they tend to go in panic mode. When you make errors, of those unforced errors, it really causes you to be unsettled out on the court.
Chance now for Nilgis. Caitlyn Cox will set to the far side to Marshall. Nilgis again, off the touch of the Hoosiers, point to Iowa.
Well, a nice swing by Nilgis. I like how she transitioned. She went deep to get a full approach here. You're going to see she's well behind that 10-foot line, going high off the blocker's hands.
Tiffany Nilgis, a 5'11" senior outside hitter from Tripoli, Iowa, for the Hawkeyes. Now Yeager will head back to serve. Granato with a tough pass, but a point goes to Morgan Leach.
I like how Morgan Leach was in serve receive in the right front area of the court. She moves her feet well and gets herself in a position to be successful. She's up in the air with her arm cocked back as the setter is touching the ball.
Serve over by Cox. Chance now in the middle for Yanni, and the Hawkeyes are on top 5-3. And Audrey, what are some of the keys for the Hawkeyes in this match?
Well, right now, I would say that they need to win that serve-pass game. It's the game within the game. If you serve aggressively, you get teams out of system. It makes the blocking game easier, which was the second key. The blocking game for Iowa has to come through and slow Indiana's offense down.
Yanni looking for another one in the middle. Now Marshall just sends it over for Indiana. Yanni again, set from Daly. Block was there for IU. Pass just sent over. And a free ball chance now for the Hawkeyes. Eskew with a big swing. Good save by Granado. Outside, able to keep it in play. Great move by Eskew. And now Henderson looking to put it away. Good rally going between both teams. Sent over on 2 by Daly. Marshall again puts it away.
Well, there's that lefty, number 11, Kelsey Marshall for the Hoosiers. A big swing on the right side, ending that rally. A nice set from the back court. And you see there was all kinds of cross court, and that's exactly where she nailed the ball. It's important for hitters to see the shots that are given to you, and if you jump well enough, you can do that. You can take a look at the block in front of you.
Marshall taking on a much more significant role for Indiana in this season. They get the block as Mary Shadoin checks in, and a point for Indiana as they tie it up at 5.
Well, that block really didn't hit the ground. The ball didn't hit the ground very quickly, so it was really more of an error on the Hawkeye side of the net, not controlling that defensive play.
Swing for Eskew. In the middle now to Thrower, and she just tips it over, but a great dig by Yeager. Into the net, though, and air on the Hawkeyes.
Well, that's the thing that happens to this Hawkeye team is they'll make some good plays and then a silly, unforced error. That ball that gets hit in the middle of the net really is unacceptable. You have to put the ball over and then try and block and dig for a point.
Both of these teams have struggled with errors all season long. This time another block combination of Shadoin and Thrower.
Well, nice job by Thrower to laterally move to get hip to hip with the outside. Here you see her nice quick movements, reaches up and over, and at the last minute, reaches back to the center of the court.
Bump set now, chance for Nilgis, goes wide, out of play, and now Indiana has turned it around, taking the 8-5 lead. Audrey, what are some of the keys for Indiana?
Well, their top players have to play well. Marshall really needs to lead offensively and get some key kills, and defensively, Cox needs to be a star out there. Then they have to feed off the crowd. You know, they're at home. You got to take advantage of when you're home and feed off that positive energy.
See if Indiana can build on the momentum. They're on top 8-5 in set 1. Indiana with a 5-0 run to take the 8-5 lead in set number 1. As Kelsey Marshall will head back to serve. And Audrey, you talked about Marshall having to take on that bigger role this season as she gets a service ace for Indiana. The Hoosiers expected to have Jordan Haverly, who led this team in kills last season, but she suffered an ACL injury in the spring, and Marshall has had to take on that focal point role.
Right, and this team will look so different once Haverly gets into the mix, and I believe that'll be next year because, like you said, that ACL injury is still recovering. So this will be a different-looking Indiana team.
Very difficult for Coach Sherry Dunbar and the Hoosiers to go through this season without a Big Ten Conference win after going to the Sweet 16 a year ago. Both of these teams have struggled throughout the season, but they continue to play tough. No one has given up on either side of the net. Henderson now. Tipped over by Thrower. She saw the opportunity and took advantage.
Well, when you're playing defense, when the ball is over on the other side of the net, the wing diggers have to play up and in. And it makes balls like this easy, but you have to be disciplined to get back in that base position every single time. And right now, just that lack of discipline on defense is making it really hard for Iowa right now to get these easy balls that are dumped in the middle of the court.
Hoosiers able to save it and send it back over. Yanni on the slide, out of play. Indiana fired up as they take this 11-6 lead.
And it's so nice to see some smiles on these girls' faces, even though the ball was hit out of bounds, but that hustle will help. A great move by Caitlyn Cox to keep that ball in play, and then there's that positive energy, that fist pump that I love so much.
Far side now for the Hawkeyes. Another save, lucky to be in play off the Hoosiers. Chance now for Lovell, and she finds that back corner.
Yeah, you got to make defensive plays every single time. So in the previous play, there was a great get by the middle for Indiana, and there it was. There it is. And then the second play kind of went in the same spot, and Indiana's defense wasn't able to play it.
Indiana with a tough time receiving that one. They send over the free ball. Daly looks to Lovell again over the block, and she goes to the back corner twice in a row.
You know, and that's a real difficult shot, so kudos to her. That hard hit that goes deep in the corner, you have to jump well enough to hit over top of the block and then put enough top spin in it so that it lands inbounds. So real skilled shot there.
Lovell, the 2010 Gatorade Michigan Player of the Year coming out of high school. Really emerging for this team as the Big Ten season continues. Shadoin goes over to Seton off the block and down.
Well, you're going to see that we call 2 setters for Indiana's side of the net. This time it's Shadoin out there setting the ball in a nice shoot set to the outside. But what a dynamic swing there by Kristen Seton on the left side. Again, another lefty for Indiana. So a little different look from their offense because they have 2 lefties out on the floor.
Audrey, how difficult is it for a team to switch setters within the match, especially in terms of the timing between hitter and setter?
Well, it is difficult, but obviously it's practiced a lot. Now, as a setter, personally, I would hate it because that would mean I'm off the floor for 3 rotations. But I prefer a 5-1 because I think it's the setter's team. You've got complete control. You're calling the plays every time. But there is an element of unselfishness that you have to have when you are running a 6-2 when 2 setters are running the show, and that's not necessarily a bad thing either.
Long rally here, finally won by the Hawkeyes, and they're back within 2.
Again, a silly little play here. There you see the set, a nice dump. It gets blocked, and that play really should have been a defensive move by Indiana. It should have been a get in the front court there by the setter.
Seton again this time, long and out of play, no touch called. We talk about Kristen Seton. Her first year with Indiana, she spent her career with Pepperdine before deciding she would be a graduate player for the Hoosiers. And Coach Sherry Dunbar mentioned she brings maturity to this team.
Right, like you said, she's a graduate student, so lots of experience. And I think it's always nice to have kind of like a mother hen out there sometimes to help the freshmen along.
Shadoin in the middle this time, but it's long. Morgan Leach, a freshman for the Hoosiers, sends it out of play.
So why did it get hit out of bounds? There's not enough snap on the ball. As a player, you have to really work on loosening up your wrist so when your hand makes contact on the ball, it's instinctive that you hit over top of it, and that'll make the ball go in and not out.
Miscommunication and a bad decision by the Hawkeyes as Shadoin will get the kill. She went for the line and was able to find it. She'll take a seat. The senior and Mary Shadoin for the Hoosiers, one of the most vocal players on this team, hosts a video blog every week for the Hoosiers. Saw her in our open. She certainly loves being a part of this team. Decision there by Nilgis, but it goes out of play. She was trying to catch Indiana off guard the way that Mary Shadoin did just a moment ago. Yeah,
and the balls are barely going out, so should these teams clean up their act a little bit and put the balls in, I think we'll see a lot more of a competitive hitting game offensively.
6 attack errors now for the Hawkeyes. And Marshall with the swing from the right side. Another chance, mixes it up. Lovell. Henderson overran it, but Caitlyn Cox was there. Lovell, another swing. Chance again for Nilgis, goes down the line. And there's a touch off the Hoosiers, point to the Hawkeyes.
Oh, nice line shot by number 12, Tiffany Nilgis. A lot of the sets were going outside. This time a nice attack there. Again, Indiana playing a perimeter defense, so a good job by Caitlyn Cox to be on the line, but that ball came at her with too much intensity. She could not control the game.
Now Seton on the far side puts it down.
So we're seeing a lot of right side attacks here on both sides of the net. Times Seton just laying it down for Indiana.
Audrey, we talk about these two teams struggling, and when Sharon Digman was talking about this matchup, she said the box score may not be pretty, but it's going to be entertaining. We've seen a lot of long rallies so far in this one.
That's right. I think both of these teams, we talked about how they mirror each other. I think they have some talented kids. And I think the thing, in the way that they resemble each other is I think they're so hungry to get a W tonight, and both know that a W is possible. So I think you're going to see good effort on both sides of the net.
Talk about the talent for the Hawkeyes. Sharon Digman has brought in an honorable mention recruiting class of the past 2 seasons. Now the Hoosiers, though, take the 16-14 lead as Leach will check out.
That was a big-time swing from Morgan Leach, and she's a middle, so when she rotates to the backcourt, she's often out, and the libero comes in, Caitlyn Cox.
About the difficult serving of Caitlyn Cox as she clips the net. Eskew. Bump set comes from Cox over to Marshall. Big swing. Hawkeyes again, it looks as if it might have hit the rafters, so they had to run back on that one. Eskew with the tip over. Marshall sends it over for the free ball, clips the net again. And another swing for Eskew. Back row defense from the Hoosiers. Marshall again trying to put it away, and she finally does.
Well, she does. What a big swing. Almost takes Jaeger's head off for the Hawkeyes. Take a look at this. Just a little itty-bitty thing on the outside for the Hawkeyes, but a big swing there from Indiana to terminate.
Marshall with 15 kills or more in each of her last 3 matches for the Hoosiers. And a service there by Caitlyn Cox. Audrey, how difficult is it to play in a gym where the ball is being altered as it hits the rafters?
Boy, I'll tell you what, I could not stand it when I played in gyms like that, because you try to pursue the ball and then it ricochets off the ceiling in some weird way, and it really does freak you out, and it really plays with your mind a little bit. You know, most of the arenas, the ceilings are so high, you don't have to worry about that, so you're just not used to it, especially if you're the visiting team.
Henderson with a swing for the Hoosiers. Nilgis on the near side. Another chance for Henderson. Good digs on both sides of the net, but an error by Yanni. 4 touches on the Hawkeyes, and Indiana up by 3. See, the Hoosiers came back. They were down 5-3, went on a 5-0 run here in set 1 to take the 8-5 lead. And they've really held that 3-point margin throughout the rest of this first set. Yanni, this time back row, does get the kill.
All right, so if you're Indiana, you have to make a mental note that Yanni runs slides fairly quick, and she likes to hit him down the line. So you cannot give her that much line. You have to take a lateral step to your left and be there early when she's swinging at the ball.
Yanni, another freshman for the Hawkeyes, and an attack error by Marshall, and the Hawkeyes are now within 1.
So it's the inconsistency that really hurts both of these teams. You know, when you hit the ball in the net or you hit it long, it just kind of takes the wind out of your sails. So if these teams can get higher hitting percentages, I think they would find a lot more success, and they would play with a lot more energy there. You see another hitting error by Indiana.
Of course, we talk about the hitting errors on both sides. Iowa has not hit over 200 in their last 9 matches, and Indiana has only hit over 250 6 times this season. So both of them really struggling with those errors. Thrower this time, that's a kill and not an error for Indiana, and they take back the lead.
Well, Mary Shadoin doing a good job of pumping the ball to the middle. You're going to see she runs a 31. The timing is there. You can see number 1 for the Hawkeyes is Nikki Daly, the setter, who's really undersized. She's only 5'9". So if you're Indiana, you should set the ball over top of her, and it'll give you the opportunity to score with a smaller block on the right side.
The Hawkeyes also have Megan Eskew, who is 5'9", so Daly and Eskew in that front row makes it very difficult to put up a decent block. Shadoin goes to thrower again. Daly goes over on 2. Great job by Henderson to get to it. Be a free ball chance now for the Hawkeyes. Hoos on the slide. There's a whistle called. This might have been a net violation against Indiana.
Yep, a little too aggressive with the upper body, trying to reach over the net. There's a fine line. You definitely want to go low and over, or I guess high and over if you've got the height. But going high and not getting over is actually a detriment to the block, because you become a target for the hitters to hit.
Now a 20-19 lead for the Iowa Hawkeyes in set number 1. Hey fans, be sure to follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/BTN Volleyball. You'll get the latest news, plus you can ask Audrey anything you want about the world of Big Ten volleyball. Be sure to go to twitter.com/BTN Volleyball. And And Audrey, as we talk about the entire Big Ten Conference, several teams looking at these final 5 matches or so and looking at some of the keys. What are the keys for Nebraska and Illinois during this stretch?
Well, for Nebraska, it looks like things are back in place. Cook is back in the lineup, and they really do look like a Final Four contender to me from top to bottom. I think their lineup looks pretty solid. Illinois, they're a good team. They tend to sometimes be too dominant on the left side. They rely on their left side hitters a little too much, but when they work their middles into the offense and the right side, boy, they are a deadly team. So Illinois and Nebraska, I think, will go long into the tournament.
And Illinois had a 3-set sweep of the Penn State Nittany Lions on Friday night. The Illini, you didn't know what team was going to come out. They had been swept at home by Minnesota, and then they get that win over Penn State. And for Illinois, they're the first team to sweep Penn State all season long. So a big win for them as they stay up in the Big Ten standings. Now both of these teams in the final few points of set number 1. We've seen some great defensive play in the back row. Pretty close and even, and there's been a lot of opportunities on either side.
Yeah, we will continue to monitor the digs, but both liberos doing a solid job. But I'm also impressed with just the regular players, the outside hitters who are playing defense aggressively, especially for Indiana. Their middle block has been really busy.
Lovell with a swing, and she finds the back row corner. A couple of times now she's been able to do that.
Right, so you have to remember when she's in the front row, this is why communication is so important. As the middle blocker, you need to turn around, take a look at your backcourt players and say, hey, Lovell's in the front row, and last 3 times she hit cross-court deep. So adjust your backcourt defense to take that shot away.
And a huge block by the Hawkeyes to go up 22-19, 3 points away from taking set number 1. Now Indiana wants to talk it over again. We'll see if they have an answer to the Hawkeye run when we come back to University Gym. The Iowa Hawkeyes on top in set number 1, 22-19 over the Indiana Hoosiers. Of course, both of these teams in the lower portion of the Big Ten Conference standings, but we look at the overall grouping. Nebraska atop the Big Ten Conference. Of course, following their win, 14-1 overall, Illinois and Purdue tied at second place. Penn State, they are not going to win their 9th consecutive Big Ten title unless something dramatic happens, Audrey.
That's right, and I am so impressed with Purdue. They're having a great season. Shondell has really worked hard to build that program, so he is able to see the fruits of his labor this year, and boy, they are working hard and they're looking good.
And we'll continue to look at some of the keys for the Big Ten teams in this stretch run throughout the rest of the match. Shadoin with the back set now. Chance on the far side for the Hawkeyes. Shadoin at the net just sends it over. Caitlyn Cox has to run it down, throw her in the middle now. Nilgis rolls it over off the block. Shadoin over to Seton trying to end it, and she does. Out of the break, the Hoosiers get a big point.
Well, Caitlyn Cox keeping the ball alive. Again, this is what a good libero will do, keeping the ball alive and giving her team the opportunity to get a kill from the dig. That's a huge point for Indiana.
Caitlyn Cox has been called a program builder for this Indiana team by Sherry Dunbar. Of course, they went to the Sweet 16 last year. Hoos off the block. Seton well outside, but keeps it in play with a good swing. Hoos in the middle, puts it down.
Well, a quick transition middle, I love it. And why? Because it catches the middles off guard. And when the setter jump sets, it can really go in either position, middle or outside. But there you can see how Indiana's blockers were not completely up and over when that ball was being attacked.
Not only Hoos, a captain for the Hawkeyes. Another miss hit by Indiana. Hoos has come up strong as of late. She'd struggled in the early portion of the Big Ten season. She had 15 kills against Michigan last Saturday, then came up with 9 kills on Thursday night against Purdue, and they need that contribution from the middle. Service error on Iowa as they had set point, but it gives Indiana life.
Well, Nikki Daly was the person who committed that error, and she ranks 8th in the conference in aces, so you know, she is aggressive from the end line, which you need to do, but boy, to get the first set, you need to put that ball in play.
Ilges trying to end it. Caitlyn Cox with a good dig. Marshall with the tip up. Marshall on the far side again mixes up her swing. Granato in the middle to Leach. Hawkeyes have a tough time handling it, and it's a free ball chance now. Granato on two, no one home, and the point to Indiana.
Well, Granato is a backcourt setter, so you don't think that she is going to attack the ball. She doesn't jump higher than the net, so that's perfectly legal. What she does is that two-handed set. You can see there was no block there. They were releasing to the outside.
Looks as if they might have called her.
Wow.
Might have called her too much of a jump, and the point goes to Iowa, and they take set one. The Hawkeyes take set number one, 25-21, a surprise win for Iowa on what was a controversial call. Whitney Granato looked as if she had gotten the point, but they call a double touch against her after this one that was sent over.
Yep, she definitely was lower than the plane of the net, so that was a legal contact in terms of, you know, her attacking the ball, but I guess her touch on the ball was one that merited a double contact. So I know Coach Dunbar was not pleased with that one. That looked pretty good to me, but you know, the ref never changes the calls as far as I can tell.
And at this point, it's just time to move on and look to set number two for the Hoosiers. And the Hawkeyes happy to take set number one. Again, they're looking for their first season sweep of Indiana since 2006. The five-set affair earlier this year was really decisive wins in each set for either team. They went back and forth, and then set number five, it was close the entire way until Iowa won it 15-13. There were 6 ties in that set. These two teams have known that very often. 5 of their last 9 meetings have gone to 5 sets.
Right, and I think the interesting thing, too, is that that was early in the season, and I really do believe that both of these teams are very different than what they were at the beginning of the season. So we'll see if that turns out to be another competitive match or not. Maybe the scores will be closer. Certainly that first set was a close one.
Of course, both coaches have talked about their teams being competitive at moments against several quality opponents in the Big Ten Conference. Of course, Indiana took a set from Illinois last week. We saw the 5-set affair between Iowa and Michigan. They've shown the moments, but they have not been able to sustain it, Audrey, this season.
Yeah, it's all about consistency, and if you don't have the guns to go out there every single point and compete hard, then it's going to be an uphill battle. And I think that's the thing from what I can see so far is both teams really need somebody to terminate the ball on the first swing. The balls are kept in play, which is good defensively, but it's because the shots aren't that hard. You need to have somebody taking aggressive shots at the ball and going straight down and terminating so that the rallies aren't extended like what we're seeing right now in this first point of the second set.
Well, Lovell able to end it, though, for the Hawkeyes, and they take the 1-0 lead and pick up right where they left off in set number one. As you were describing it, Audrey, neither team could put together a good swing until Lovell.
Right, and she hits the open spot. That's not really a hard hit, but more of a smart hit, and you like to see that from your freshman.
Marshall this time, big swing, and she gets the point.
You know, that ball has a little bit more pop to it, and that's what you need from people that are capable of doing it to go out and hit that way every single time. So she takes a ball that's set from the backcourt and really puts a nice spin on it, puts a little heat behind it, and gets her team a point.
Haley will look to Lovell again. Henderson this time. At the net, a joust is won by the Hoosiers.
You know, if you're going to be an outside hitter in the Big Ten, you have to have the mentality that it's not about keeping the ball in play. It's about ending the rally. And you got to go up and swing your hardest swing every single time. And so, you know, we mentioned it earlier, the roll shots only work after you've been able to terminate big-time swings. So, you know, it's so important to develop that skill in all the outside hitters.
Side to Eskew, there'll be a whistle called. Net violation will go against the Hoosiers. Of course, in the last meeting between these two teams, 31 errors on Indiana to just 16 for Iowa. That was the big difference in the match. Lost serve. Tough pass here, but a look to Morgan Leach, and she's able to get it between two Iowa players.
Well, a good pass makes setting middle an option. And right now there's a nice pass. You're going to see it from the middle. And the angle of the middle attacker was she started off on the right side, and instead of just hitting down to position 1, which is the right back area, she kind of turned and hit it to left back. So a nice little shot by Morgan Leach.
Tied at 3 in set number 2. Chance now for Bethany Yeager for the Hawkeyes. Yeager clips the nut and gets the ace. Yeager with a big point for the Hawkeyes, and they want to serve aggressively. You talked about it at the beginning of the match, Audrey. They have to serve aggressively to win.
Right, and the balls that hit the top of the net are often so hard to get because, you know, they just kind of spin off in a weird angle and it really slows the ball down, so it's hard to get a good consistent pass. That time she tried to go for a short serve and it never cleared the net.
That'll be Marshall's chance for the Hoosiers. Out of system for the Hawkeyes. Eskew runs it in. Henderson this time, too strong, and an error on Indiana.
The other important thing when you're an outside hitter is to make sure you wait for the ball to be released from the setter and keep the ball in front of your right shoulder. A lot of these hitters are going in a little too soon, and that ball is behind their head, so they're not seeing the ball as they're hitting it. So it's real important to stay behind the ball and make sure you're snapping into it, not only using your arm and your wrist, but also your core muscles too to come over top of the ball.
Shadoy sends it to Henderson, down the line, but again out of play. That's the 11th attack error now for Indiana to 8 for Iowa.
And Iowa's points right now are coming pretty easy because you mentioned all the errors. So you've got to challenge your opponent a little bit, force them to play the ball.
Hawkeyes taking advantage of the errors, but also the service aces. Reason they're up here in set number 2 and winning the match 1-0. Daly with the back set to Yanni. Hoosiers were ready for it. Eskew this time, and she's able to put it down.
Well, Megan Eskew, the captain of this team, senior leadership that's so important out there, terminates, and it's a nice line shot. Again, it makes it possible to hit a line if the setter puts the ball right at that sweet spot. You want it about a foot in or so, no more than a foot in from that antenna on the left side.
Coach Sharon Dingman talked to us about Megan Eskew, said that she hoped that every coach had an opportunity to coach a player like Eskew, one of the most hard-working players and has the best work ethic on the entire team for the Hawkeyes.
Well, what a nice compliment when your coach is saying that about you. You're a pretty special kid.
She takes advantage this time in the middle. She's able to get it going for the Hawkeyes, and they lead at 9-5 now in set 2.
Well, different look offensively. Instead of setting the ball to the pin, the ball is set inside a little bit. Again, it opens up some angles. A nice change in the offense by the Hawkeyes.
The bump set this time for a back row attack for Henderson. Into the block, falls down on Indiana's side, and the point goes to the Hawkeyes. Tiffany Nilgis gets the kill.
Well, Indiana did the hard job. They got a touch on the ball to slow it down, but oftentimes if you're not ready for it, you make an error trying to play it. So you got to have your digging cap on as well as your blocking cap.
Iowa on top in set 2, 10-5. Iowa leads the match 1-0, but they're on top in set number 2 as well, 10-5. The Hawkeyes looking to build on the momentum in University Gym in Bloomington, Indiana. And of course, we again talk about the Big Ten Conference and a couple of keys for some teams throughout the Big Ten looking down this final stretch of 5 matches in Big Ten Conference play. We look to Penn State and Purdue now, Audrey.
Well, Penn State, not a very senior-dominated team, so a lot of these kids want to get to the tournament. I believe they will get to the tournament, obviously, but not a lot of the starters have ever played in the NCAA tournament, so it'll be interesting to see how they do. Of course, they've got great serve in Micah Hancock. The L2 position needs to keep getting better. That serve pass game for Penn State is really important. And we talked about Purdue earlier. They are having a great season. Shondell has really built that program. program, and they are really onto a good start or good end to the Big Ten season, and we'll see how they do when they enter that NCAA tournament. I think they should do very well. They have to believe that they belong in the top 5 because they seriously do. They're a talented team.
8 Big Ten teams went to the NCAA tournament last season. You have to think that at least 8 again this year, possibly 9. 7 teams are in the top 25, so there are a lot of different Big Ten teams looking to that postseason in these final few weeks. Kristen Seaton through the block and down, and Indiana able to draw back within 5.
Well, for a lefty to hit a sharp cross-court angle like that shows some talent. So can she keep doing that? She needs to repeatedly hit that shot until the Hawkeyes take that shot away and then try to go for that line shot.
Daly with the back set to Yanni, and again, on that slide play, she's able to convert.
Emily Yanni, just a freshman, so this Hawkeye team certainly has some young talent. And again, Sharon Dingman is interested in building this program, and they will do it on the backs of these freshmen.
Of course, you look at Emily Yanni as well as Alex Lovell for the Hawkeyes. They have other talented freshmen as well. Erin Lepic. They've brought in the talent. They just have to be able to play together enough, be consistent, and you don't find that necessarily when you're playing so many underclassmen in their first year. Daly this time in the middle of the Hoos, who sends it over. Hoosiers were looking for maybe a bit of a lift call, but it's not going to go for them, and the Hawkeyes take the 13-7 lead.
Yep. When the right side blocker moves in, that right front area of the court is open for tips, and that's exactly where Hoos puts the ball. A nice heads-up play by her.
Renato this time over to Seaton. Block was there for the Hawkeyes, but a great save by Henderson. Double touch call, though, against Indiana, and the Hawkeyes continue to build their lead.
Well, when you make these kinds of errors, it's easy to go into panic mode, and it's important for Indiana right now not to get into panic mode too quickly. There's a lot of this match left to be played, and so they really need to kind of group together and figure out what is going wrong. How can we make our errors, not errors, turn them into positives?
And a huge solo stuff for Mallory Hoos to give the 8-point advantage to the Iowa Hawkeyes. It's an 11-3 run now for Iowa. And an overpass, Hoos again with the kill.
Well, Iowa's serving aggressively, and Indiana putting up balls that are too close to the net. So Hoos taking care of all those balls that are tight. And there you see a nice big smile. She likes the way she's playing, and she's impressed with this big lead that Iowa has.
And a timeout for the Indiana Hoosiers as they trail it now 16-7 in favor of the Hawkeyes. Of course, stay tuned after volleyball on BTN for some men's hoops coming up at 5 o'clock. It's Indiana hosting Tennessee Chattanooga, immediately followed by the Northwestern Wildcats against Texas Pan American. That's all coming up later today on BTN. So the Iowa Hawkeyes on top here in set number 2. We look again to the keys throughout the Big Ten Conference. And of course, Audrey, as we look at Minnesota and Ohio State, both of these teams also looking to that postseason.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to watch Minnesota play quite a few times this year, and I've seen them have moments of greatness and then just play very poorly. So they have been on this roller coaster ride. They need to really steady out their play. They've got some great players in Whitman, Tori Dixon, Haley Cowles, and Catherine Harms, so very experienced players, so they just need to steady out and play strong at the end of this Big Ten season. For OSU, boy, I'd like to see all of those players play well at the same time. I've seen each individual kid play strongly, but Ohio State will be a completely different looking team if all of those kids play well at the same time. They're currently ranked 22 in the nation, so they will, I believe, make it to the tournament. It's just, can they continue to get better? And the other question for Ohio State is which setter will play? You know, Sherwin had mono at the beginning of the season, so Peterson stepped in and did a pretty good job. So they've been flip-flopping their setters a little bit due to illness.
And both of those teams played a week ago, with Minnesota earning the 4-set win over Ohio State. And the Gophers also playing with 2 setters. McNeil has taken over the job from Mia Taberson. Marshall this time into the Iowa block, and another point for the Hawkeyes out of the timeout.
Well, if you're Indiana, that's frustrating, because after a timeout, you really want to have a positive play. The high set goes to the right side, very predictable. It's set very, very high, so the middle blockers or the middle blocker for the Hawkeyes was over the net and clearly dominated on that play.
5 blocks now for Mallory Hoos. And she takes advantage of the overpasses. She's having a very solid night so far for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
You know, and she's not a huge player. She's only 6 foot, and I know that seems like a pretty tall kid, but in the sport of volleyball, especially in the Big Ten, you know, that's not all that tall, but she's got quick feet and she does a good job reading.
Marshall off the touch of the block. Yeager in the back row saves it for the Hawkeyes. Lovell this time, going for the back line, and she gets it. Dunbar was looking for a double touch call, but she won't get it.
Well, you can really sense that Iowa is feeling their mojo. Even though they're on the road, they typically have not played well on the road, but they seem pretty flawless tonight.
Morgan Leach with a tip over for the Hoosiers. Get one back. You talk about Iowa struggling on the road. They've lost their last 27 consecutive Big Ten road matches, but they look to be on the verge of going up 2-0 in this one over Indiana. Daly to Hoos this time. Renato now to Leach. Lovell trying to put it away. She won't be able to. Another chance for Granato. Back set to Marshall. Blocked out of play, and Indiana able to tool the block.
Well, Marshall has been a bright spot for this Indiana team. Again, getting a nice swing on the ball. It goes into the block and out of bounds.
And a service error on the Hoosiers gives the Hawkeyes a 5-point margin until they take set 2. They can put it away. Indiana needs to get on a strong serving run, and those errors aren't going to help them. Renato back set again to Marshall. Lovell with a good up in the back row. Chance now for Eskew. At the net, it's put down. Lindsay Enterline into the match for the Hoosiers.
Well, you gotta love it when you enter the match and you do something positive, and that's something that Dunbar talks about. You know, you need somebody to come through at a crucial time. There you see a good kill by Lindsay Enterline.
All pinballs around through the block, the Hawkeyes, and falls down, and it's an ace for the Hoosiers. Caitlyn Cox, who leads this team in service, aces, and of course is 9th all time at IU, gets an important point. They need her to go on a run back there. Into the net, and it gives Iowa point number 21.
I know she's frustrated with that serve, missing long, maybe more acceptable than hitting the ball at the bottom of the net.
Yeager, high one that floats over. Enterline this time right down into the net. Another error by the Hoosiers.
A disappointing error. Again, if you hit the ball long because you're going for a shot, it's one mistake you can live with, but the bottom tape, not so much one that you can live with.
That one did not go over for Bethany Yeager. As the Hoosiers, with their 12 points, still down by 10 now in set number 2. Iowa was able to take set 1 25-21. That was a much more competitive set than set number 2 has been, as the Hawkeyes have been able to dominate. Chance now for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Thrower unable to receive that pass from Mary Shadoin, and Iowa 2 points from taking set 2.
Yeah, working middle is really tough. You have to be in rhythm, and the pass is pretty good. The set too high, it's too high and too slow. So as a setter, you really need to get a feel for where your middle is, and if they're early, shoot it there fast. If they're late, hang it.
And a lift call against the Hawkeyes. We talk about the middles for both of these teams, Audrey, and of course they're both inexperienced, but why is it so difficult to get consistent play out of your middles when you have such an inexperienced team?
Well, I think it's the beauty of the sport of volleyball. It's so complex. In order to be a team that runs middle well, there's so many things that need to be in place. You have to have good passing. If the pass isn't quite perfect, then you have to have a setter who's skilled enough to run middle when she's off the net, or even be risky enough to do that. A lot of setters are scared to make an error. So, and then the timing between the setter and the middle, boy, that's one of the hardest things, because like I said, if the middle is early, you've got to shoot it there quickly. If they're late, you have to hang it. So real difficult skill to master.
Samantha Thrower able to get the kill for the Hoosiers. In the middle this time for Indiana. Of course, Thrower, a junior middle blocker out of Sycamore, Illinois for the Hoosiers. A nice performance against Illinois last week, coming up with 11 kills on 450 hitting. Tough serve now from Thrower, and an ace.
When you talk about Thrower's offensive weapon there as an offensive weapon. Earlier in the season, she got 15 kills on 15 swings against Buffalo, but still, that was one heck of a match for that kid.
Setting a Big Ten record with that perfect number. Overpass chance now for Leach. Hawkeyes able to run it down and send over the free ball. Shadoin to Leach on the slide, and another point for the Hoosiers.
We're going to see the slide here. Again, she takes a big swing at the ball, getting between the seam of the block.
Of course, for the Hoosiers, they're trying to build their way back here in set number 2. They've fallen behind to the Iowa Hawkeyes, but they've had a lot of injuries to deal with this season. Of course, the graduation of Ashley Benson and Taylor Whitmer, ACL injury for Jordan Haverly, who they expected to be their focal point this year, but she's been out. Colleen Smith, another player they expected to have a big role this year, and then other players who still are in the lineup but have dealt with injuries all season long.
You just take a look at that and you think, what a challenge for Coach Dunbar just to find 6 healthy kids to put out there. But despite that, the thing I like about Coach Dunbar is she is so positive, and she knows that this is not the season that everybody would like to see from Indiana, but she keeps her head up and she gets her team to compete hard in practice and train hard and work on the things that they have control over. So she has worked very hard with this team, and what a challenging year that they have had.
You see Ashley Benson, a 2-time All-American for the Indiana Hoosiers, the first All-American in program history. She recently signed a contract in Puerto Rico, so she will be playing professionally shortly, but they miss her as well. She's now a student assistant with the team. And one of the things that she mentioned was how much she didn't know went into coaching until she actually got there and sat on the bench.
Yeah, it's like being a parent. You don't appreciate your parents until you are one, and then you think, man, I should have been a lot more thankful. But that's the same sort of thing that you see from players. The ones that transition from being a player to a coach, they often just go, geez, I didn't realize you guys put so much time and effort into preparing and getting us ready, and how much of your heart and soul goes into coaching.
Coach Dunbar hoping the preparation of this team can allow for a big comeback in set 2. Not just a 7-point margin, but the Hawkeyes still have set point. Iowa needs just the one to be able to take the 2-0 lead in the match. Chance now for Yanni. Seton this time. Lovell into the block. They look to Lovell again. Seton puts it down for the Hoosiers.
Well, Seton is the one kid out there that is not hitting predictable angles. On this shot, she goes for it over top of the block and hits high. She puts some spit behind the ball. And if you're Sharon Digman, boy, you got to get your team to get 1 point. Maybe a timeout would be good.
It's a 5-0 run now for the Hoosiers. Back row now for Nilgis. Now Seton looking for another kill. Lovell again trying to end it, whistled out of play. So a hitting error on the Hawkeyes. No, they're gonna call, I believe we might have had a Hoosier in the net. So the point goes to Iowa and they take the 2-0 lead. Iowa on top on the road over the Indiana Hoosiers. We'll send it to the intermission as Indiana looking for answers as they go to the break. 25-21 in set number 1 to the Hawkeyes, 25-18 in set number 2. They're on top 2-0 looking for the straight set sweep, but the Indiana Hoosiers are hoping to force another 5-set affair. We look at the numbers from the first 2 sets, Audrey. We talked about the hitting errors on both sides. It's been a struggle, but a combined 22 errors for Indiana. Very difficult to win a set when you have that many errors.
Right, so definitely we talked about how the outside hitters have to terminate the ball. That's why you're seeing low hitting percentage. And take a look at the blocks for the Hawkeyes, a little bit better, just 1 block better, but that was Hoos getting a lot of those blocks. Again, service errors for Indiana at times when they really couldn't afford to have serving errors. So again, a lot of errors on both sides of the net, which is the reason why these teams have been inconsistent against the tough competition of the Big Ten.
Indiana has won the last 4 meetings in this series in this building. However, the Hawkeyes are looking for their first 3-set conference win since October 23rd, 2009 versus Northwestern. And we talked about it before. They have not won a road conference match overall in their last 27 chances. So some numbers could fall here if Iowa can finish it off, or the Hoosiers trying to really bounce back and earn the win after falling earlier this year in Iowa City.
Yeah, the Hawkeyes really have to give a big push here in this 3rd set. The Hoosiers are down, like you said, 2 sets. Do they have the stamina to come back and win the next 3? So if Hawkeyes believe that, you know, hey, if we push a little, right now they're bending, can we make them snap? And I'm sure that's the message that Coach Dingman gave her team in the locker room in between sets.
Be very demoralizing for the Indiana Hoosiers if they fall behind early in set number 3. They're going to need the good serving of Caitlyn Cox to get things started. Lovell again. She leads the team in kills so far, but it's sent back. Nilgis this time, too strong out of play, an error on the Iowa side.
What could have helped her out? A ball that set a little tighter to the net would have helped Nilgis out quite a bit because she was so far off the net, and again, that ball was behind her shoulder instead of in front.
Daly to Hoos. Marshall this time trying to terminate, but she can't get it. Yeager sends over the free ball. Renato to Marshall again. She terminates. No, it's out of play.
Well, nice job by Yeager to let that ball go on the end line there. It was very close. So Bethany Yeager for the Hawkeyes letting it go and choosing to do the right thing.
Middle this time to Thrower. Daly unable to handle it, and the point goes to IU.
Well, I like the way Thrower gets up, is real vocal, and the ball is set between the 2 Hawkeye blockers. So a nice set there by number 5, Whitney Granato for the Hoosiers.
Out of system now. Nilgis will just send over the free ball, but it's a double touch called against the Hawkeyes. Now Indiana on top 3-1.
And an interesting move by Sherry Dunbar to keep Granato in the front row. Usually we see Shadoing in there. So a smaller block on Indiana's right side.
Granato just sends it over now. Chance for Daly on 2. Hoosiers keep it alive, but it's 4 touches, and the point goes to the Hawkeyes.
The Hawkeyes celebrating that. Again, if they can keep momentum, keep their spirits up, and really push Indiana, they can make it very uncomfortable for them. Indiana needs to believe that they can get this 3rd set, play tough, work hard to terminate.
Enterline able to terminate for the Hoosiers. The former basketball player who came over to the volleyball team after she dealt with injuries gets another kill for Indiana.
Again, she was entered into this game as a sub, and there she goes delivering for her team. The energy is what's important. Enterline getting a kill and then celebrating with her team, a huge positive spark for the Hoosiers.
Of course, we saw her former coach with the basketball team, Felicia Leggett-Jack, in the stands supporting the volleyball team here. Great early portion of the women's basketball season. Free ball sent over by the Hawkeyes. Granato goes over to Seaton with the left-handed swing. Tough pass there. Hawkeyes weren't able to get out of the way of each other. This one long and out of play by Nilgis. No touch call, point to the Hoosiers.
Well, Nilgis had an awkward angle. The ball was actually over her left shoulder instead of her right. And we talked about that a lot, how you want to get your feet to the ball to be in a perfect position to swing at it. And she definitely was not on that play.
Tony Hicks serving for the Hoosiers. Tip over. Sending over the free ball is Marshall, and the Hawkeyes can't get to it, so Indiana continues to build on their lead.
Well, sloppy play on both sides of the net, but it ends up to be a positive point for Indiana. These aren't the types of plays as a coach that you want to see, but nonetheless, if it ends up being a point on your side, you're smiling.
Hicks, the 5'7" sophomore defensive specialist for the Hoosiers. Chance now for Nilgis off the block and down, and the Hawkeyes able to end that run.
Much better swing for Nilgis. Again, the ball goes off the blocker's hands and lands in the right front area of the court. If you're a defensive player, what do you have to do to get that ball? You can't dive too early. You got to keep your wheels spinning. You got to run after the ball. You don't hit the floor until after you've made contact on the ball.
A big joust won by Granado. She was undersized, but she was able to get the pushover and the point.
Talk about her being undersized. She's 5'9", so definitely a smaller setter, especially Shadoin being on the court as a 6'3" setter. So obviously there's something that Sherry Dunbar likes that Granado is bringing to the court.
And an ace for the Hoosiers as they take the 8-3 lead. You talk about Granado, she's been a very solid player defensively, had 10+ digs in each of the last 2 matches for the Hoosiers. Done a very good job digging the ball out as well as setting for the team.
And what about Indiana? They look completely different. This is not the Indiana team that we saw in the first 2 sets. And I think that can be frustrating for a coach when you see your team play up and down. Definitely forcing Iowa to earn their points here in this 3rd set instead of just handing over points to them.
And a timeout for the Hawkeyes as Indiana has grabbed the momentum. They lead it 9-3 in set number 3. Senior night in Bloomington, Indiana, as the Hoosiers recognize the 4 seniors on this team. Lindsay Enterline and Kristen Seaton came over to the program. They did not start their careers with the Indiana volleyball team, but Mary Shadoin and Caitlyn Cox helping lead this team to an NCAA Sweet 16 appearance a year ago. Head coach Sherry Dunbar called them program builders as they've been able to contribute in such a big way for this team.
Well, that's right. That 2010 season was a magical one for them, and Cox and Shadoin obviously playing a huge role in that wonderful season. You know, last year they beat Penn State at home. 3-1. That goes back in October of 2010. So those seniors really doing a nice job of leading the charge.
The athletic director for the Hoosiers, Fred Glass, has said one season does not make a career. So even though this isn't the best year for Indiana, you have to look at the overall picture for this senior class.
Well, how great is it that your athletic director comes in to give that message to a team that's probably not feeling so great about themselves? So it says a lot about the program and a lot about the faith that this program will get better. And believing is part of the battle. And I'll tell you what, if they can continue to believe here in this 3rd set, they could really challenge Iowa.
2 points out of the timeout for the Hawkeyes, and they trail it now by 4 in set 3. Granado. Daly with the pass to Lovell. Seaton trying to terminate, and she does.
Well, Lovell for the Hawkeyes had the opportunity to get a point for her team, and she hits the same shot that we saw her hit in the first 2 sets. You feel like Indiana's got that one covered. And so Seaton, on the other hand, delivering a pretty tough shot and getting that big point for her team.
Shantae Thompson in the match for the Hawkeyes. She tips it over. Leach trying to tip it down for the Hoosiers. Lovell now with the chance. Cox will go with the set to Marshall. Big swing and kill.
Well, Marshall on the right side taking advantage of a block for the Hoosiers that's not formed. You can see the middle for the Hawkeyes was not there in time, and so the Hoosiers really take advantage of that.
Lovell again now, and she's able to get it as Granado can't receive it and try to dig that ball out.
Granado cringes at that one because that ball fell right into her lap. She's laughing. She's a great defensive player. That was the toughest hit that she would ever see on the line, so she knows that she should have had that ball.
And Thompson with an ace for the Hawkeyes. Sheltae Thompson did not play in the first 2 sets, but she comes into the middle and now serving with that ace. Renato back set this time to Seton and another kill. 7 now for Kristen Seton.
Well, she is coming alive. What a great third set she's having. Getting a lot of sets, taking that big approach on the ball. You've got to love how quick she's coming in when that ball is set to her, reaching high, lots of top spin. That's good stuff.
Right in line with their numbers over the past 5 matches, averaging about 8 kills per match. Lovell this time for the Hawkeyes, able to put it down.
You know, I haven't seen Lovell hit a line shot, so if you're Indiana, boy, talk. Think about where she has hit the majority of the balls. It's always deep in the left back area, so if you're a middle back player for Indiana, just shift that way. It might hit you right in the lap.
It's not for Interline. Back set goes to her once more down the line, but an air, and the Hawkeyes draw within 3. Indiana has to avoid those errors if they're going to be able to hold on and take set number 3. Renato back set over to Marshall, and another big swing by Marshall and Seton, the 2 of them really combining for the offense right now for the Hoosiers.
Well, when you're a left-handed player like Marshall and Seton are, that right side area of the court is your power side. And so it's no surprise that the ball is being set that way. Those are the 2 best hitters. So if you're the Hawkeyes, you have to be able to move, if you're a middle blocker, to your left a little bit quicker to seal that block.
Mallory Hoos checks back into the match. She did such a nice job of sealing the block in the first 2 sets, coming up with 5. She was out for the beginning portion of set number 3, but she gets the kill there. Another chance from Marshall and another kill. Hawkeyes don't have an answer right now on the right side for Kelsey Marshall.
Nope, she is the team leader in kills, and you're seeing her display her talents right now in this third set. A lot of swings when she's front row.
8 kills now for Kelsey Marshall. Nilgis this time out of play. Seen several errors by Tiffany Nilgis in set number 3. She's not been able to find her rhythm.
Well, and as a coach, when you tally up all the errors that you've made and you transfer them over to points, you realize, boy, we gave our opponent the match or the set. So that's why those unforced errors just come back to haunt you. Should-haves and could-haves. Well, I should have hit the ball in. You really have to deliver every time you get the ball. As an outside hitter, right side hitter, your job is to put the ball down. And if you're not doing it, you're letting your team down.
And a block for the Hawkeyes as they get point number 12 back within 3. You talk about the free points, and really they're even in errors now between these 2 teams. 17 attack errors for Indiana, 16 for Iowa. Those are all free points given up to the opponent. Interline this time. Nilgis will set it over to Eskew. Thrower. Thompson blocked in the middle, and the Hoosiers get the point.
The Hoosiers reading that play. It's a 31. That's when the ball is set quick, not that high above the net, but pushed away from the setter. So the same sort of technique. You want to be up in the air when the setter's touching the ball. And there you see Granato being really excited that she got her hands on that one. She's a right side blocker. She moved in nicely to stop the 31.
Eskew this time with a big swing and kill.
Well, Eskew impresses me. She's a itty-bitty thing on the outside, 5'9". That's not a huge player by any means in the Big Ten. She's got a lot of guts, and she goes up trying to muscle her way through and getting a kill.
She's second on the team in kills, digs, and points this season for the Hawkeyes. Seton this time, and another kill for Seton.
Well, Seton, her story, she battled injury when she played in Pepperdine, and she seems very healthy right now. She looks incredible on the outside. Again, if you're Iowa, you have to track where she is. She'll play on the left side, and then she'll sometimes swing from the right side. So you really got to be aware of where she is because she's going to get a lot of sets.
And she's able to put that one down as Daly just had to try to force it over. But Seton was there, and it's an 18-13 lead for the Hoosiers and a timeout again for the Hawkeyes. This is more of what Sherry Dunbar expected to see from her team as the Hawkeyes struggling here in Indiana, finding both Seton as well as Kelsey Marshall. We take a look, though, at the teams in the Big Ten who are on the bubble of the NCAA tournament, Audrey. Several of them look at it at this point they could be getting in. However, they're not at that point where they're in the top 25 and have that lock at this point.
That's right. You know, when I talk to coaches about Michigan State, they're so impressed and they can't believe that they haven't been in the top 25. They play really tough. Rathje and Abron have to shine in the last couple weeks of the Big Ten Conference if they want to make it to the tournament. Then you talk about Wisconsin. You know, they have struggled too this year, a different looking team than we're used to seeing. And then Michigan, who's currently ranked 24th in the nation. Boy, they have had a very interesting year. They've got a young setter in Lexi Danmiller. And, you know, does she have what it takes to get some wins here in the last part of the conference and then lead her team in that tournament?
And we take a look at the Big Ten standings again. Of course, that middle of the pack where several of those teams are. Michigan needs to get something going in this final stretch. They may be ranked, but they have not done well in the Big Ten Conference season, sitting at 5-10, at least not where they expected to be. And of course, you talk about Michigan State. Rathje really struggled on Wednesday night against Minnesota. They need her to be more consistent. And then, of course, you look at Wisconsin. They lose a player like Crystal Groff, who was a star and a freshman who looked like she could easily be on that all-Big Ten freshman team, and now she's out for the year.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting Big Ten season. Lots of matches that are splitting and just a real battle in the middle of the conference.
Seton again for the Hoosiers. Nilgis able to keep it in play. Eskew this time. Granato with the bump set. Seton will have to send over the free ball. Daly to Eskew. Great up by Melanie Hicks. Another chance for Eskew. Now Marshall this time from the back row gets the kill for the Hoosiers.
Well, the Hoosiers defense has really picked up. Sherry Dunbar, during the break after the second set, has really talked to her team about where to line up defensively. They're digging a lot more balls, and that dig to kill ratio is a lot higher here in the third set than what we saw in sets 1 and 2 for Indiana.
Thompson this time. Job by Thrower to keep it alive. Hawkeyes need to take advantage of the free ball, and they do. They have not been able to hit for a high percentage off those free ball opportunities, and they have to get those points if they're going to come back in set 3.
And that was Shantae Thompson with a tip right over top of the block in the middle of the court. Again, when you play that perimeter defense, if you're able to hide the tip, you know, don't give it away too soon, that area of the court is often open.
Ace for Megan Eskew and the Hawkeyes. They're down by 6 in the third set. Granato this time. She gets it over to Leach, and on that slide play, the freshman with the kill.
Well, Granato jump set. She's in the front row, fooled Iowa's block. The block went with her. There you see there's no block, or a very poorly formed block by the Hawkeyes, which results in an Indiana kill.
Lovell again for the Hawkeyes, and she continues to go for that back corner.
Yeah, I'm just amazed that, you know, the middle back player isn't in that spot. It's like an X on the court where she seems to put the ball every time. So why not start there and then make an adjustment the other way if you need to go back to the middle of the court?
Overpass kill for Iowa, and they're back within 3. First kill for the setter for Iowa and Nikki Daly. Good opportunity off the tough serve of the Hawkeyes. Granato in the middle this time to Leach, who finishes.
Well, Morgan Leach, the middle, the freshman middle, watch her get up. She's one-on-one, And I like the way she just went with her approach, went straight ahead, and that was in the left back area of the court. When you find one middle blocker in front of you and you're a middle attacker, you have to put the ball one way or another. So good vision by Leach.
And an ace for Seton. The Hoosiers are 3 points from taking the third set. You talk about Leach, and head coach Sherry Dunbar had said that at this point in her career, she's better than All-American Ashley Benson in her first year.
Well, what a compliment that is. Boy, oh boy, if you're Morgan Leach, you got to build on that. And that's motivation. If a coach thinks that of you, boy, you get in the gym and you practice hard, and in the off season, you spend time perfecting your game, because if you have the potential to be better than the All-American, wow, that's a great compliment.
Sent over now by Daly. Caitlyn Cox with the set over to Marshall. Block stays on the Iowa side, and the point goes to Indiana.
Let's take a look at this. There you see a big swing. And I like the way they're celebrating. Just a very positive look on all the faces. Good eye contact with the Indiana Hoosiers team.
Seton this time is long, just past the line. Now Iowa has a chance as they head back with the service. Good job by Seton from the service line for the Hoosiers. Give them 2 points away from taking this third set. They beat Daly for Iowa. Renato to Marshall. And off the block, point goes to Indiana, set point number 1.
That wasn't a bad touch on the block. It did go out of bounds, but you can run that ball down. Once the ball deflects, again, get your feet moving and keep accelerating until you play the ball.
10 kills now for Marshall. Looking for Nilgis. Falls down on the Iowa side. Indiana takes set number 3. As they build back from the deficit, they went into the intermission down 0-2, and they have a chance now as we head to set number 4 when we come back to Bloomington. Back in Bloomington, Indiana, where the Indiana Hoosiers have answered with a set 3 victory over the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa still on top 2-1, but Indiana got some great play from 2 star outside hitters in Seton and Marshall. Seton really doing a nice job with that left swing.
Yeah, the 2 lefties are coming through. Seton all over the place, getting 3 kills so far in that set. And then Marshall doing it as well. And Coach Dunbar has got to be pleased with how these 2 girls are competing. You're going to see Marshall here taking some big swings at the ball from the left side of the court.
So Marshall, who has 11 kills now in the match, she came up with 3 as well in set number 4. Also, you have to talk about Morgan Leach, because in those last few points of set number 3, she was the one who was able to get things going for Indiana and keep Iowa, hold them off as they had a little bit of a run.
Absolutely. You want to have more than 2 people contributing to what's going on out there. And I think that's where Indiana has struggled in the past. But in that set, boy, nice contribution by a couple people. But the lefties really standing out in my mind as being the 2 top players for the Hoosiers so far.
It's been the story of all season for Indiana. They put together a nice set. They play well and have the balance they're looking for, but they cannot keep it going. Of course, against Illinois last Saturday, they took a set number 2 from the Fighting Illini, but weren't able to carry that over. And then, of course, matches against Purdue for Indiana, even against Michigan State. They were able to take sets, but could not take the match.
Right, and Dunbar talked about how that set that they took from Illinois, it was good volleyball. They were point for point, and I think that's the thing that you have to build on. Sometimes your opponent just doesn't play well, and then you get the win, but that wasn't the case. They were point for point and very competitive against Illinois, and I think that's what Sherry Dunbar really appreciated about her team.
Indiana had 375 for set number 3, and they continue the high number in set 4. First point goes to Samantha Thrower.
And that energy is contagious, because Thrower, boy, we haven't seen that from her. Just a great slide approach and then really swinging hard, a fast arm swing on that attack.
Now the Hawkeyes with a chance and the kill. Is Nilgis able to get something for Iowa? And mentioned it, 375 in set 3 for the Hoosiers to 077 for the Hawkeyes. Indiana cutting down on those airs and hitting for a high number. Another big swing by Thrower and kill.
And the big difference for Indiana was they kept Granato in their setting, and I think that's what they'll do here in the fourth set. If it worked in the third, do it in the fourth. You see Granato staying in there and when she's front row and putting a nice 31 up for her middle to attack.
Now 5 kills for Thrower as Hicks serves for the Hoosiers. Yanni again. She's been quiet in set 3. Can they get her going in set 4? But a tip over and the point to Indiana.
Well, it's interesting that Iowa is setting the ball in the opposite direction from where Granato's going. You're going to see a nice get here. This attack by Granato. Again, just 5'9", so good jumping ability to get up and then attack the ball on the side of the ball and push it down.
Eskew this time with the kill for Iowa.
Well, it's nice to see that they set over top of Granato. If you're a Hawkeyes fan, you want to see that ball going over Granato. She's a great defensive player in the backcourt, but definitely not the biggest block on the right side.
And a service error by the Hawkeyes and Eskew, who gets the kill, but then has the service error. The Hawkeyes really trying to get back to that play that they had in set 1 and set 2 when they opened up the 2-0 lead. They really struggled in set 3 and the beginning portion here of set number 4. Daly goes to Lovell, who's able to go down the line this time and get the kill.
Well, it's nice to see that she's got that in her because all we saw was that cross-court shot. So if she can continue to mix the ball, different spots, put it in different spots, then that'll just help her stock on this team. I would leave her out there and let her just have a heyday swinging different shots.
Leach this time in the slide for the Hawkeyes and the kill for Indiana. Morgan Leach now with 9 kills for the Hoosiers, and they're getting a lot of balance now in set 3 and 4.
Right, when the middles get involved, it makes it really difficult for the middle blocker on the other side of the net to just take off and go with the outside. So the better that Leach gets for Indiana, the more pressure that they will put on this Hawkeyes team.
Marshall into the antenna. Iowa will take back the service. Daly, who leads this team in service aces, back there for the Hawkeyes, and she gets it long. No, does not catch the line.
Yeah, it looks very close. That line official is there and had a quick call on the ball, so she didn't hesitate one bit.
Now it'll be Seaton, the graduate student for the Hoosiers, serving. Daly goes in the middle this time to Nilgis, who gets the touch and kill.
Well, a good set, just a different look from Iowa to get Tiffany Nilgis in the middle, just a high 2 ball. You're going to see she comes in way inside the court and then cuts it back to position 1.
That's what the Hawkeyes need. They need more than Alex Lovell, as Nilgis has to get going. Eskew as well. If they can get the balance that Indiana has had, they might be able to come back. But a net violation against the Hawkeyes gives Indiana the point.
And Indiana celebrating that error by Iowa. You take any point that you can get, and if a block is going to go into the net, then you celebrate like you just won a championship, and that'll keep momentum on your side of the net.
Daly this time to the far side. Marshall with the swing. Chance now for Eskew, but a double touch called and another error on the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, Nikki Daly for Iowa, non-setter, trying to set that second ball, and that ball just spun out of her hand, so a double contact on her. That was a good call by the official.
It'll be Caitlyn Cox serving as Sharon Dingman unhappy with the call. She'll talk to the official.
Sometimes coaches will do that just to kind of use it as a timeout or just a little rest period when they don't really want to call a timeout. So Sharon Dingman.
Daly to Eskew with the swing. Big swing by Megan Eskew for the kill.
Boy, that was a great swing by Eskew. I haven't seen her put that much pop on the ball, so she's angry about something.
Out of system for the Hoosiers. Enterline sends it over. Daly in the middle to Yanni. Enterline again, blocked by the Hawkeyes.
Well, the Hawkeyes block is getting them back into the game. That was Nilgis sealing the block. I'm sorry, that was Yanni, number 9, for the Hawkeyes sealing the block.
Again, something we saw in set 1 and 2. The Hawkeyes were out blocking the Hoosiers. That slowed down in set 3, but they're going to need to get it going in the 4th set, and they get Yanni in the middle for the kill.
Yanni, we should note, just a freshman, nice size, 6'2", good movement. Getting a couple points here for her team.
4 kills for Yanni. She's had 5 matches this season with 10 kills or more. Marshall this time off the arms of a diving Bethany Yeager.
Yeah, and I don't know why, if you're a Hawkeye player, that you are not guessing that that's where the ball is going to go. You see that there's no block there, and that's an error that can't happen. You have to predict where the ball is going, and it's no secret where Indiana is going to put the ball.
Poor passing by the Hawkeyes gives that one up to Indiana. So another mistake on Iowa's side. So it was Indiana with more errors in set 1 and 2, and now in set 3 and 4, it's been Iowa with more errors. Daly with the back set. Nilgis off the block and out of play. Point to Iowa.
You know, you talk about errors. There's errors that you make because you're being aggressive, and those are good errors. Coaches can handle that. And then, you know, errors because you missed your blocking assignment or you're not communicating. Those are the types of errors that drive coaches crazy. When you can control something, control it. And you should always know and be able to predict where the ball is going to go. You got to know who's in front of you as a blocker, and you've got to communicate that information to the backcourt. Errors that are made because of lack of communication or lack of effort are really unacceptable in the conference.
An overpass, now a chance for the Hawkeyes. Yanni off the play. Back set from Granado to Marshall into the tape. And another chance for Marshall from that back row, and a kill.
And Marshall is being very active. When she's a backcourt player, they're putting the ball right on that 10-foot line so she can jump and leap into the front court. So a nice set there. And that's perfectly legal. Remember, you have to stay behind the 10-foot line when you make contact on the ball, but certainly you want to push your hitter into the front court, leading her so that she can take a big swing on the ball.
It's Eskew with the big swing this time for the Hawkeyes, and we're tied again at 11.
So in this 4th set, let's remember it's tied at 11. It could go either way. At this point, it'll be interesting to see which team eliminates some of the silly errors that we've seen both teams make, and we'll see who takes off at this point.
Thrower this time. Indiana having a tough time getting to that ball. It'll be a free ball chance for the Hawkeyes. Can they take advantage? They do. Great decision by Daly.
We talked about positioning on the court for the backcourt defense. You've got to be ready. There you see the right back player for Indiana being in a more defensive position, closer to the sideline, and really should have been sucked in the court a little bit more.
Back in the middle again to Samantha Thrower, as the Hoosiers again tie it at 12, and Thrower putting together a very solid match.
Yeah, she is textbook when it comes to 31. She's got a nice lateral step with her left foot and then approaches big with that right left step. And I like the way her hips are facing the setter when she takes off. That's textbook perfect 31 approach.
Talked about those errors you cannot have. That one not, again, just into the bottom of the net.
Yeah.
You're not even given a chance for the ball to be in play.
And that's where I think as a player in the Big Ten Conference, you've got to be mentally tough enough to get a kill and go back and serve up an ace. You just have to have that kind of talent if you want to be successful in the conference. So, you know, as much as you want to have a positive impact on the front court, you got to quickly forget about that if you get a kill, turn around and deliver another positive play for your team.
Lovell again now for the Hawkeyes. 12 kills for Alex Lovell, a freshman outside hitter for Iowa. Granado to Seton, and again they move her into a different position to get her the kill.
Yeah, Granado mixing up where she puts the ball, and that will keep the Hawkeyes off balance defensively. So there you see, for a lefty to come in and swing at a 2-ball in the middle of the court is pretty talented.
Lovell again. Renato goes to Leach in the middle. Daly just sends it looking for the back corner. Marshall now. Middle to Hoos. Still a long rally going. Double touch called. That one goes against the Hawkeyes. Indiana ties it again.
All right, so we talked about it being tied at 11. Now it's tied at 14. A couple errors on both sides of the net that time. A double contact by the setter. Setters touch a lot of balls, so I know Nikki Daly does not like that, the fact that she got called on that ball.
Who's trying to tip it over, but 3 Hoosiers were there. A lift called against Kristen Seaton, and the point goes to the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa on top in set number 4, but it's been back and forth. We'll see who takes the 4th set when we come back. Back to Bloomington and University Gym, where the Iowa Hawkeyes have the slim 15-14 lead in set number 4, and they lead the match overall 2-1. We head to Twitter, twitter.com/BTN Volleyball for a question. And Audrey, at ArgoSFan2, who is your candidate for Freshman of the Year, and which team has the best freshman talent?
Well, that's a tough question. You know, you talk about Katie Dutchman at Northwestern, a really solid middle blocker, but when you look at the team's success, Penn State, Micah Hancock setter, who is really outstanding. I think she would be in line for Freshman of the Year. And you talk about the team that has the best freshman, incoming freshman class. I think hands down that has to go to Penn State. They have so many freshmen in the lineup that are contributing, and what growth we've seen from that team from the beginning of the year to this point right now in the season.
And they had the #1 overall recruiting class coming into this season in the nation. Of course, you talk about Micah Hancock. She has not had a Player of the Week award, whereas Katie Dutchman has had 3 Freshman of the Week awards.
Yeah, so she is a talent, but her team really not being as strong as Penn State. So sometimes, even though you have some talent, it often depends on how well your team does in order to get an award as prestigious as Freshman of the Year.
Seaton down the line, off the hands of Eskew, and the kill goes to Seaton for Indiana. Seaton now with 10 kills, both her and Kelsey Marshall into double digits for the Hoosiers. Lovell goes off the block. Renato with the back set to Marshall. Yeager is there for the Hawkeyes. Middle to Hoos. Back corner, Leach with a great decision off the touch, gets the kill.
Well, good instincts by Leach to go for the ball and just slap it into the open area. And again, she's all smiles. Take a look at this play. She gets the block and then gets her kill there. Now, it wasn't an overpass kill, it was actually the touch off her block that set up her own kill, so that's an interesting play.
11 kills now for Morgan Leach. She had 8 last night against Nebraska. Seaton tools the block, and the Hoosiers take back the lead. I said before, we talked about the double figures. Leach with 11, Seaton with 10, and Marshall with 13 for the Hoosiers. Daly goes to Hoos in the middle. Good job to keep it in play by the Hoosiers. Marshall with a good swing. Lovell with a chance. There'll be a free ball sent over by Granado. Guys bump into each other. Chance now for Lovell to put it down. She does.
And we're seeing some line shots. This is the second line shot I've seen from this kid. So as a freshman, nice job to change up your shot. I think she probably heard me say, just stick her cross court all the time, and she's proving that she can do something else. So that's a nice change-up shot there on the line by Alex Lovell.
I'm sure Sharon Dingman has the broadcast on the bench, and she made sure to tell Alex Lovell. Renato goes over to Marshall. Cross-court kill for Marshall.
Well, this is where the backcourt and front court have to work together. If there's a lot of cross court available, which there is, and that's the angle that right side player was hitting, you've got to be able to dig up that ball. So oftentimes the block will channel the ball into the defense if the defense is in the correct spot.
Back set over to Nilgis, but it's out of play, and the point goes to the Hoosiers.
The Hawkeyes cannot believe that ball was out of bounds. Again, I've never seen a lines person or an up official change the call, so you have to accept it and move on.
It had been tight the entire way in set number 4, but Indiana opens up the 2-point lead. Back to Bloomington in a moment. Indiana on top 19-17 in set number 4, but Iowa leads the match 2-1. Hey, Big Ten fans, now you can get free programming alerts on your mobile phone. Be the first to know when your favorite coaches and players will appear on the Big Ten Network. Just text volleyball to 20284 or log on to btn.com/alerts. Message and data rates may apply. So we were tied at 11 all in set number 4, tied again at 14. And after that last point, Indiana finally opens up a 2-point margin. We've been tied for the majority of that middle portion of set number 4.
That's right, and it's close calls. So, you know, you've got to be pleased if you're Iowa. It's not like these balls were hit way out of bounds, very close and maybe even questionable calls there. But Iowa needs to play tough if they want to beat this team on the road.
Daly to Nilgis, off the block, and Indiana gets point number 20. They're 5 away from forcing a 5th set.
Well, thrower with that block, nice movement, closing the block, fast. You see that swing blocking that Indiana's doing right now, getting high up and over.
Audrey, what are the advantages of swing blocking? We see a lot of different Big Ten teams utilizing it this season.
Yeah, I think what a lot of coaches like about it is it builds your momentum, so you're getting a little bit more height on the ball, and then as you're swinging, it really helps your momentum go back to the center of the court if you're doing it correctly. So I think it's a tough skill for kids to learn, especially freshmen. I think blocking is one of those skills that really gets better the longer that you play in the college conference or in collegiate ball. So freshmen have a hard time with it, but if it's done well, it can be very effective.
Of course, freshmen in the middle on both sides of the net. And of course, you can watch game week press conferences, buy apparel, or get tickets to upcoming Iowa sporting events at the official home of Iowa Athletics, HawkeyeSports.com. It's part of the Big Ten Digital Network. For Indiana, you can interact via social media, purchase souvenirs, apparel, and tickets by visiting the official athletic site of Indiana University, iuhoosiers.com. Again, part of that Big Ten Digital Network. So Indiana out of that last break, again opening up the 4-point margin. They're 4 points away from sending this to set number 5. The earlier meeting between these two teams went to 5 sets in Iowa City. The Hawkeyes were able to get that win 15-13 in set number 5. And there's 6 ties in that 5th set, so no surprise that these two teams are once again in a tight battle.
Absolutely. It'll be interesting to see if Iowa can push Indiana here or if they will roll over and die. Indiana clearly with the advantage, only needing 4 more points to get this 4th set. So Iowa will just see what they're made of here, if they can, you know, battle to get this 4th set, or if they'll just give it up and give it to Indiana and then fight in the 5th. We'll see what happens.
And Coach Sharon Dingman again talked to us about saying the box score may not be pretty between these two teams, but it's always an entertaining match, and it has been so far this evening. Tough pass for Nikki Daly, who's able to tip it over, though. Marshall able to get it from the bump set from Caitlyn Cox. Daly again to Mallory Hoos. Enter line, off the net, comes down on out of play. No, it's on the Iowa side, and the point goes to Indiana. The Hawkeyes disputing it.
Wow, that's a very interesting call. I thought the ball went into the tape and then out of bounds. Let's take a look at it. They're saying that it hit the Iowa block and then hit the antenna. I sort of saw it never clearing the net, but nonetheless, you just have to play these out. I've never seen an official change the call, so you got to forget about it and move on.
Dive by Caitlyn Cox to save it. Marshall into the block, tools it, and Indiana 2 points away. We've seen Kelsey Marshall do a nice job of tooling the block on that right side throughout this match. Just barely goes over for Caitlyn Cox. Eskew will get the swing. Laid up by Cox. Enter line, blocked at the net.
You know, back to Cox's serve. I think she tries to hit the top of the tape. I think that's something that she's worked on. Let's talk about this hit. A nice dig, a nice high set. Again, when a setter's setting from backcourt, you want to set it right where she set that ball, 5 feet off the net, 5 feet in from the sideline.
Eskew off the block this time, so Iowa putting together a couple of points.
Well, it's not over till it's over, and Eskew gets a big kill there. They almost have to play flawlessly at this point. Really need to get this next point, the 20th point for them, in order to have some confidence.
Overpass chance for Yanni. Now Eskew with another swing, stuffed this time by the Hoosiers. Set point number 1 for Indiana.
Well, the ball is set way too tight for Eskew. Again, she's just 5'9", and she tries to do a roll shot, but she swings right into the belly of the block. If you're going to do a roll shot or you're going to go for a topspin hit, you've got to go high off the blocker's hands.
So the Hoosiers 1 point from sending it to set number 5 for the second time this season between these two teams. Daly goes to Eskew, goes off the block. Iowa with a good point.
Well, Eskew off Granado's hands there. We talked about Granado being 5'9", Eskew the same size, so you got two undersized players just battling it out.
Thrower this time, ends it for the Hoosiers. They take set 4 as we head to the decisive 5th set between Iowa and Indiana. No surprise, in a battle again between the Hawkeyes and the Hoosiers. Back to Bloomington for the conclusion in a moment. Set number 5 between the Indiana Hoosiers and the Iowa Hawkeyes. Indiana able to force set number 5 thanks in large part to the play of Samantha Thrower in the middle. They've had great balance, and she really got going in set 3 and 4.
Yeah, you mentioned the word balance, and when you have somebody else involved in the offense, it certainly does help. So Samantha Thrower getting 3 kills and getting a block for the Hoosiers. It's so important. You cannot just rely on 2 players to do everything offensively. So the fact that she's getting involved is such a bright spot for Indiana.
Familiar spot for these two teams. They played a 5-set match earlier this season in Iowa City that the Hawkeyes won. And of course, overall, 1-4 for the Hoosiers. And then of course, Iowa 3-2. Iowa, this is their 3rd consecutive 5-set affair. They lost to Michigan at home last Saturday and to Purdue on Thursday night. The Hawkeyes looking to end a 27-match road losing streak in the Big Ten Conference. And of course, Indiana looking for their first Big Ten Conference win of the season.
Right, so both of these teams very hungry here in the 5th set. We talked about unforced errors, and it's really going to play a huge factor in the 5th because it only goes to 15 points. So if you make a lot of errors, you're just giving the set over to your opponent. So both teams need to be a little bit sharper and focus on playing close to flawless volleyball in the 5th.
We talked to Sharon Dingman about her team in set 5 matches. They've struggled. They've not been able to play loose. They've been very tight and struggled in those areas, and they get off to a slow start as Indiana gets that first point. You talk about the errors, though, Audrey. 24 for Indiana so far, 21 for Iowa.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. There's no other way to say it. So, you know, these coaches know exactly the strengths and weaknesses of their team, and they work on it, and it's a focus for them. So, you know, if they don't work on it, then they would be, you know, foolish. So they are trying their best to eliminate that. It just takes a lot of talent, and this conference is very unforgiving. So you've got to play your best volleyball, and you've got to continue to get better individually and as a team.
And an error gives Iowa their first point of set number 5. Of Of course, in the first meeting, 6 ties in the 5th set between these two teams. It was won 15-13 by the Hawkeyes. Granado. Enterline will send over a free ball. Daly. Back set. Goes over to Nilgis. Marshall with the bump set. Terminates.
Well, if Marshall keeps playing like she's played here in the last few sets, Indiana will run away with this. She has been unstoppable. She's taking aggressive swings on the ball and hitting over top of the block. So a real bright spot for the Hoosiers right now is Kelsey Marshall, that lefty from the right side.
A new season high 17 kills for Kelsey Marshall. Lovell. Granado, she'll look to Marshall again. Block is there for the Hawkeyes. Bounces around and double touch called against Indiana.
Sharon Digman liking the fact that her block got a good touch on Marshall's attack there. That's what they need. If you're not going to stuff block a ball, then at least get some good touches to slow Marshall's attack down.
Granado back set over to Marshall. Yeager able to dig it out, but the Hawkeyes will send over the free ball. Chance for Thrower in the middle. Whistled, net violation against the Hawkeyes.
Thrower with that 31, that lateral step with her left foot, then closing in with a big hop step. And she's in perfect position, and I can see her communicating with her setter, Granado, asking for the set and making herself available to hit it.
You see Shadoin back in for the Indiana Hoosiers setting, but an error gives the point to Iowa. Didn't see much of Shadoin in set 3 or 4, but she's back in set number 5. Shadoin goes to Thrower in the middle. Another whistle and another net violation on Iowa. You said it, Audrey. Errors could decide this match, and Iowa with one more.
Right, and Shadoin, kudos to her as a senior, being able to be on the bench for a couple sets and then coming in and still exhibiting such a positive disposition out there. Just an unselfish player, and that's setter Mary Shadoin for Indiana.
Senior night for Mary Shadoin and 3 other seniors for the Hoosiers. Blocked, stuffed on that left side by Seaton and Thrower.
Lots of celebration, lots of hugs, lots of positive feedback. And we see a good block, nice seal. Hip to hip, the middle blocker with your left side blocker. Looked pretty good.
Free ball sent over. Shadoin, she'll go to Seaton, who gets another kill for the Hoosiers. They're up 6-3 in set 5.
The backcourt ball control by Iowa. They're struggling right now. That wasn't the toughest hit. Just a little top spin hit. But nonetheless, she'll take them. That scores for Indiana.
We talk so much about momentum in a 5th set, Audrey, because both of these teams know they need to have that momentum, especially when you're on the road and you don't have the momentum in the early portion of set number 5. It makes it very difficult to win a match.
Yeah, we talked about one of the keys for Indiana is to just feed off the crowd. And when you're on your home court, it's so important to do. So Sharon Digman realizing how important it is to stop momentum early on when you're playing in a 5th set, calls a timeout to try and rally her troops here.
BTN introduces BTN Live Big, our initiative to recognize and inspire the community service efforts of Big Ten fans. To live big is to find a cause that you're passionate about and to do something about it. For more information, go to btnlivebig.com to find out how you can do more. BTN Live Big, act, serve, inspire. So Iowa took the 2-0 lead and really looked to be on their way to a 3-set sweep. Out of the locker room, the Hoosiers, a completely different team, got Kelsey Marshall as well as Kristen Seaton involved, played well enough to force a 5th set, and now they are in the lead by 3. So important. Every point is always counts throughout the entire match, but it's magnified in set number 5.
Yeah, I think Dunbar did a good job, as you have already mentioned, of changing things up in the locker room. She did a setter change. Granado came in, was the 5-1 setter, and Granado did a nice job. But now we're seeing Shadoin in there, and we'll see what she can do as the setter.
Seaton into the tape. It'll come back down on the Indiana side, and the Hawkeyes get the point they needed out of the timeout. numbers in the match so far. Indiana leading overall kills. Hitting percentage not strong for either team.
But certainly Indiana hitting better than what we've seen them hit. So to hit 21% for them is a very positive thing right now.
Now it'll be Thrower who gets the kill to head back to serve. We saw the last time this happened, she had a service error. So we'll see if she can keep it in play on this chance now for the Hoosiers. She does just that. Daly gets it over to Eskew. Off the block, and the Hawkeyes trying to get fired up.
Eskew, again, she has been tooling the block effectively. Look how deep she approaches from. She's well behind that 10-foot line. And when you're undersized, that's exactly what you need to do. You need to take advantage of a full approach.
Huge stuff in the middle for the Hawkeyes as Yanni and Lovell were there.
It's a one-ball set by Indiana. It evolves pretty slowly, so the blockers for the Hawkeyes are there. You get that important point.
The Hawkeyes cannot handle the pass, and the point goes to Indiana. They're the first team to reach 8 points, and will switch sides here in set number 5. The lead for the Hoosiers as they're 7 points away from completing the comeback and earning their first Big Ten victory of the season. The Hawkeyes, though, doing a nice job after falling behind, and we had talked about the momentum. They used a block, a couple of kills, Eskew as well, to get back into set 5.
That's right. When you switch sides at the 8th point in the 5th set, it is sort of a timeout. So Iowa should take advantage of this, kind of regroup in their mind, come together. You've got time to talk as a unit, figure things out, and they're not terribly behind here, only down by 2, but they need to shift momentum, do a couple positive things on their side of the net.
Now it's Granato back in for the Hoosiers to set. Yanni this time too strong out of play.
Yeah, you definitely do not want to let this one slip away if you are Iowa. How frustrating would that be after winning the first 2 sets? Indiana, on the other hand, serving aggressively.
It'll be Daly who goes to Lovell. Hoosier block is there, but it's still in play. Chance again for Lovell. Free ball sent over. A double touch contact against the Hoosiers. Point goes to Iowa.
But Indiana doing a good job of blocking, getting touches on the ball. That time just a silly error, double contact. Nonetheless, they were serving aggressively and playing well at the net.
Granato pushes it over to Marshall, and off the touch of the block, the Hawkeyes can't get to it. Indiana now 5 points away from taking the match. It'll be Seton to head back to serve for the Hoosiers. Daly goes to Lovell. At the net, comes down on the Hoosiers' side. Good decision to not touch that one by the Hawkeyes.
Yeah, Whitney Granato could not go up and play that ball and attack it. Usually, if something's tight or going into the net, usually setters are aggressive. She was a little late getting there, and that ball didn't have any bounce out of the net. Sometimes it comes into the net and bounces out, and you're able to play it that time. She didn't have the luck of the bounce.
Daly, a missed swing by Mallory Hoos, and the point goes to the Hoosiers. We've seen the errors be on the Iowa side here in set 5.
And look at Indiana just talking, slapping, great eye contact. Lots of talk there by Whitney Granato, talking about the front court hitters for Iowa.
Now chance again for the Hawkeyes. Marshall with the swing. It'll go to Nilgis, who's stuffed by Thrower.
And there you see Caitlyn Cox grabbing the shirt of Samantha Thrower, saying, "Great block!" That's the kind of energy that Caitlyn Cox brings to the court.
And called feisty by her coach and Caitlyn Cox, and she loves to fire up the rest of the team. Samantha Thrower able to get that one. The Hoosiers on top, 3 points away from taking set number 5, and I think the biggest difference, you have to look at the numbers. Set 1 and 2, The Hoosiers hit just 103 in set 2, 058 in set 1. They've hit over 300 in set 3 and 4, and hitting over 250 now in set 4. They cut down on the airs. They still have a high number, but not nearly as many, and that's given them the chance to get this victory.
Yeah, hitting percentage usually dictates the winner of a match, and clearly you've illustrated that right here. So Indiana feeling very comfortable here in the 5th set, but it's not over yet. They have shown that they can make errors, so they really have to focus until they get to 15 and then breathe a collective sigh of relief that they got a W under their belt. So can they play well at the tail end of this 5th set?
Of course, Indiana trying to avoid becoming the first team to go winless in the Big Ten Conference since 1996, when the Northwestern Wildcats did not get a victory in conference play. They're 3 points away from getting their first Big Ten Conference win. And of course, head coach Sherry Dunbar said to us, there's no quit in this team. They've not given up. They had the opportunity, as some teams do, to pack it in. You're late in the Big Ten season. Some of your seniors not happy with how their final year has gone, but they have not given up.
Yeah, and I think that is a great testimony to the seniors. You know, there's certainly a lot of off-court distractions. You can get yourself, involved in other things that make you counterproductive. So the fact that this team has stuck together through thick and thin is a real testimony to the leadership of the seniors.
It'd be Mary Shadoin and Caitlyn Cox, the 2 senior captains for the Hoosiers. Back set goes to Nilgis. Granado to thrower. Out of play, no touch call. Point goes to the Hawkeyes. Indiana wanted the call.
And they are screaming for a touch. You see Thrower giving the evil eye to the up official.
And some of that on both sides of the net. Calls that could have gone either way. So Indiana has this one go against them and is a 3-point lead. Granado to Thrower in the middle, off the block and out of play.
We talked about Thrower really contributing, and what a different look this Indiana team has when she gets involved. Very physical middle player at 6'2". She's been just steady here in the last part of this match.
12 for Thrower, another kill for the Hoosiers, and they have match point number 1.
Ball control error by Iowa allows Thrower to just get that overpass and stuff it right down.
Daly to Eskew. Hoosiers looking for that block. Thrower ends it! The Hoosiers get their first win in the Big Ten season.
Well, congratulations to Sherry Dunbar, in particular Samantha Thrower, really being consistent at the end there. It's her first Big Ten win of the season.
A difficult year for the Indiana Hoosiers, and you see them emotional, getting the win, able to get the victory on senior night over the Iowa Hawkeyes and avoid going winless in the Big Ten Conference. 4 different players in double-digit kills for Indiana. And of course, the performance of the match is brought to you by Pure Silk. It's Kelsey Marshall who came up with 18 kills for Indiana.
Yes, she was steady throughout the entire match, and she actually got better in sets 3, 4, and 5, and really just dominated there for Indiana, keeping them in this match.
So the Hoosiers, with that victory, they're able to get the win over Iowa. They fell in 5 sets earlier this season, but the Hoosiers come out after falling behind 2-0. What a performance by them to turn it around, Audrey. It looked like they really, again, could have packed it in when they fell behind 0-2, but they were able to come back and get this victory.
Yeah, Sherry Dunbar has got to be pleased. She said that she liked the fight of this team, and that's exactly what they demonstrated in this match.
And that's going to do it from Bloomington, Indiana, where Indiana defeats Iowa 3-2. Coming up next, it's men's hoops as Tennessee, Chattanooga, and Indiana square off. So for Audrey Flaw, I'm Mike Wolf saying so long. This has been an exclusive presentation of the Big Ten Network.